everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Presley Mania. In case this is your first time to check out my channel, my name is Rhonda, and I hope that you enjoy what I'm going to talk about today. My channel is all about protecting the legacy of Elvis Presley and his daughter Lisa Marie. And today I'm going to be talking about more details of Lisa Marie Presley's abuse and the hand that Scientology played into that. We got into some of it last week a little bit, so if you're new, you can check out the video that I did last week talking about the abuse of Lisa. But today we're going to go more into Scientology and how that they had a heavy hand in forming Lisa in young formative years. When I was kind of looking into some of this and trying to decide which direction I was going to go, I ran across a couple of different articles, and one of them was by Tony Ortega that he had written shortly after Lisa Marie's book came out. So I'm going to be referencing some of the things that he said in his article. I'm also going to be referencing an article that Lisa's one of her auditors, it's an article one of her auditors gave, and we're going to be going into that as well. So let's get started on this. The first mention of Scientology in Lisa's book happens in chapter 2, and it's after she's lost her dad and she is 10 years old, and her mom decides to join Scientology. And she had found some things in Elvis's bedroom, I guess, at Graceland, Priscilla had, talking about Scientology. Now, Elvis was never a fan of Scientology. No, not at all. He felt like they were just after his money. But Priscilla found the pamphlets and she got interested, and she knew someone who was involved with it, and that was John Travolta. So she contacts him, and what does she do? John gets his lady that he worked with, her name was Spanky Taylor, to talk to Priscilla, and the next thing you know, Priscilla has signed up with this cult, and as a result, she ends up getting her young daughter involved in it. So Priscilla told Lisa that this religion would make her become powerful. It would make Lisa powerful. Well, Lisa thought that was cool because at the time, she absolutely adored watching Bewitched and I Dream of Jeannie, and she thought it would be really neat to have superpowers. But my thought is, I'm wondering, did Priscilla use that as a ploy to get Lisa Marie interested in joining this cult? I think it was twofold. I think Priscilla wanted to find some way to become much more powerful in her own life. And she knew that Lisa loved watching Bewitched and I Dream of Jeannie, and Samantha could wiggle her nose and make things appear, and Jeannie could fold her arms and bop her head, and voila, you get what you want. So I think in some ways that was Priscilla's advantage, her edge in getting to Lisa Marie and maybe making her interested in this. On the other hand, though, I feel like for Priscilla, everything comes down to power and control. And this was no different, in my opinion. Lisa says that she felt like Scientology basically raised her. She said that she felt like her mom, this is in chapter 3, and the title of it is called The Wall. And it says that she felt like her mom was always actively trying to figure out how to send me away. Beyond Switzerland and Israel, She had mostly jumped me off into Scientology because she thought they could handle me. Scientology kind of raised me for her. Lisa's words. This is a time in Lisa's life when she did not need a cult to be raising her. She needed the love of a mother. But she never received that. She goes on to say, she said, but now I was on my way to be a boarder at Happy Valley School in Ojai, and I was mortified. The school was clearly designed for parents who just wanted to send their kids away. At the time, Lisa says her mother was seeing Michael Edwards, which we know all about that. And we know what happened with Lisa and Michael Edwards. But I feel like that Priscilla was sending Lisa away because Lisa even said it herself, that she was a terror to her mother because she didn't want to be with her mother. But instead of Priscilla taking this opportunity to spend time with her, to maybe rekindle their relationship, to get to know her daughter, to figure out what was going on with her, she was too busy with dating Michael Edwards, doing things with him, and yes, even doing cocaine with him. And that's where Lisa, probably first saw cocaine, was because through her mom and Michael Edwards. She decides that Lisa was just too much trouble, and she kept sending her off. Now, in between times, Lisa would come in and she would live with her mom because Scientology would call and they would say, okay, it's not working out at this school. Lisa's being difficult. So this brings us to the next round. And Lisa says that her mom made me live with her again, but I was miserable, so I was a terror. She said it was clear she, meaning her mom, didn't want me there. She tried to make me go to other boarding schools, but it never worked out. So in the middle of the night, she packed my bags and she took me to the Scientology Celebrity Center and dropped me off. Now, I want to talk about some of the things that happened to Lisa Marie. And this in particular just breaks my heart. And many of you may already know about it, but if you don't, it's really eye-opening. There's the lady who was Lisa Marie's auditor, and I am sure I am not pronouncing this right. De La Carriere. It's probably a horrific mispronunciation. But she did an article and she said that the first time that Lisa was just dropped off at the Scientology Center was when she was 11 years old. 11. And she said that the first time that she was made to do the purification rundown, which I'm going to explain to y'all, was when she was 12 years old. 12. What is the purification rundown? It consists of doing hours in a hot sauna, doing large amounts of exercise, and taking high levels of vitamins to make the body supposedly pure. We all know that Lisa had experimented with drugs, and I'm guessing at 12 years old, maybe she was experimenting with some of these. So Priscilla would drop her off, and this lady says she would be scowling, kick her out of the limo basically, and tell them to handle her. And one of the ways they did that was putting Lisa through these purification rundowns. Now, let's get into a little bit more of what all they do. She said that Lisa did drugs and they forced this Scientology purification rundown on her. The rundown consists of sitting in a sauna for 5 hours a day, so we're getting into a little more detail. Slowly taking more and more vitamins and minerals until one is taking 5,000 milligrams of niacin daily. Can you imagine? That had to have been miserable. And I call that abuse. To do that to a child is horrific. There is no reason for that. But Priscilla didn't want to deal with her. So she sends her to Scientology for them to deal with her. And it said Lisa had to do this procedure over and over because of her drug relapses. Doing this program, Scientology felt like it would make her magically not want to do drugs anymore. I would like to say that maybe Lisa was doing drugs because she was getting no attention at home, that she was being sent away for someone else to handle her. Maybe it was a rebellion. I don't know. Maybe it was something that she just felt like, okay, you know, that people always say, if I can't get good attention, then I'm going to get bad attention. So maybe this was Lisa's cry for help, a way for her mother to pay attention to her, but it didn't work, sadly. This lady goes on to say, the auditor, Lisa Marie's auditor, says that Elvis never, ever would have let his daughter endure the torturous purification rundowns, sending her to ethics and handing out morality punishments. And all the stuff she endured for 35 years, the absolute Scientology indoctrination leading nowhere with no result, he never would have allowed it. She also says that Scientology got tons of money out of her. Scientology touts itself as making you this high ethical spirit. You're more aware, you have more morals, you have more ethics, you're practically a Superman, and you're more healthy. But that wasn't the case with Lisa Marie. And Lisa Marie got out of Scientology in 2014. Tony Ortega also talks about when Lisa Marie met Danny Keough, and that was through Scientology. And that was in chapter 4. And then in chapter 5, it talks about Michael Jackson. And many of you probably are aware that Scientology in the beginning was very much in favor of Lisa Marie's marriage to Michael Jackson. But when they couldn't convince him to become a part of it, they encouraged Lisa to end the marriage. So, let's talk about that a little bit and what Tony Ortega says about it. It says that, let's see. She describes being at her happiest and something she never felt again for the rest of her life while being married, when she married Michael Jackson. But after a while, Michael developed a drug problem which he was hiding from her. Lisa was on an anti-drug march in D.C. at this time. But what she doesn't add is that it was a march put on by Citizens Commission on Human Rights, and that was the Scientology front. So they had her doing a march in D.C., or maybe she did it on her own free will because she didn't realize at the time that Scientology really was controlling her life. Says eventually Michael had asked Lisa to leave him alone while he was recovering from drug abuse in a hospital, and she filed for divorce soon after. Okay. Ortega says that Lisa told him that she was in love with Michael and that she did not want to leave him. She said she believed he was in trouble and she wanted to help him through it. She said, but Scientology made sure that I left him. Can you believe that? I do. And I think it goes back to exactly what I said. Michael was raised as a Jehovah's Witness. And when Scientology talked to him, he wanted no part of it. He wasn't going to convert over to their religion or their cult, whatever you want to call it. So when they realized that they weren't going to be able to get a hold of his money, and Lisa was having trouble in the marriage, what do? They insist she leaves. So she says that there was always someone from Scientology present in her marriage, that they wanted her to break up with him, and they even sent an attorney, John P. Cole, who pressured her to divorce Jackson. She says, one morning I got a call from John Cole. He said, Michael's going to make a move. He's going to file. So I filed, she said. So she felt like Michael was going to leave her and he was going to file for divorce. And that wasn't the case at all. And that is really sad, isn't it? To think that they butted themselves into her life and forced her to do something that she really didn't want to do. Again, I call that abuse. He talks about how that Riley says that there is a void for about 10 years in the tapes of Lisa Marie and her life between Michael Jackson and Lockwood and the twins and all of that, that there wasn't a lot to go on. And he speculates and wonders if that is really true or not true. Remember I said last week that there were 16 full tapes, and yet you have a book that is 287 pages long, I believe. So how do you think for a second that there wasn't something in between in those 10 years? I don't know. I'm not trying to call Riley out, but what I am saying is that I'm not sure I'm buying that. I think there is more in those tapes, and I think it does delve into the Scientology issues and the fact that Lisa Marie left them in 2014. Because in 2015, she called Tony Ortega and described everything that had happened and why she left and the reasons why she had left and what she was involved in. So I think that Scientology also had probably had people out there keeping an eye on her. There is no telling what she went through when she left them. She is reported to have said to David Miscavige through a camera, "You leave me alone and I will leave you alone." Those weren't her exact words. You can use your own imagination. You know how Lisa talked. So anyway, I don't feel like for a minute that Scientology didn't put pressure on her. We know that Lisa was going to testify in the Masterson case. They actually, before, one of her best friends is one of the girls who was assaulted by Danny Masterson. And Scientology came to Lisa and didn't want her going to the police with the information that she had. But Lisa ended up eventually talking to, I believe it was the prosecutor about it. Let me see. Said Scientology managed to squelch the first investigation, but when 2 other women came forward and the 3 of them went to the LAPD in 2016, their allegations were taken more seriously, and the prosecutors wanted Lisa to testify in Masterson's first trial, but I don't think that happened. And that trial ended up with a hung jury. And the prosecutors announced that they were going to try Masterson again. And this time, Judge Olmedo ruled that they could expand their testimony about Scientology. And after those more expansive rulings, it would have allowed Lisa to testify in the second trial, which began in April of 2023. And we'll never know if Lisa would have testified in that because we lost her in January of that year. There are so many things that Lisa went through. Scientology, the stuff they put her through, some of it we still don't know. I'm still hoping that Riley will open up about that after some time has passed and maybe tell us what else was in those tapes. But I feel like beyond a shadow of a doubt that Lisa Marie Presley was abused in many ways. And I think I have only hit the tip of the iceberg in some of the abuse that she received from Scientology. And I'm wondering, as time goes on and more people come out of this cult that maybe possibly knew her, if we will learn more information. So I hope y'all have enjoyed this little rundown on some of the things that I found out. And please put down in the comments below your thoughts on this episode. I would love to hear from each and every one of you. And remember, until I see you next time, you only get one shot at this life. So live each day to the fullest, because we never know what tomorrow's going to bring. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you.